wouldn't be the NFL offseason without the Minnesota Vikings getting disrespected yet again. So coming up on today's show, why the Vikings are going to make a bunch of these NFL analysts, NFL media members look very, very dumb this upcoming season, and why the Vikes are going to shock the NFL world. But why we're doing this video is because an NFL media company called NFL Spin Zone. Producer Dylan and I were scrolling the internet trying to find some record predictions for the Minnesota Vikings, and Dylan came across this one where NFL Spin Zone said the Vikings' record this upcoming season will not be 8-9, not be 9-8, but they will be 6-11. You're going to lose 8 more games than you did this past season. And their reasoning was because, of course, JJ McCarthy. Lou Scataglia. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but your slander of the Minnesota Vikings, we need to talk about it. Saying, I can see a regression from the Minnesota Vikings in 2025. Remember, just in case anybody forgot, they are now starting a de facto rookie quarterback in JJ McCarthy. So winning a ton of games simply might not be in the picture this upcoming season. And this happens every year. And you know what? Here we go again, where the Bears are getting all the love. The Green Bay Packers are going to the Super Bowl. The Lions are running away with the division. Caleb Williams is going to be a dark horse MVP candidate. This happens every single offseason, and it's not just with the Minnesota Vikings. It's with Minnesota sports as a whole. ESPN had 10 of their best NBA analysts predict the Lakers-Timberwolves series. All 10 of them picked the Los Angeles Lakers. We all know how that turned out. So it's the NFL offseason again, and the Vikings are getting disrespected. They think they're going 6-11. You guys let me know. What do you guys think the Vikings' record would be for next season? My record prediction is actually flipped. I think the Vikes are going to go 11-6, win a playoff game. You guys let me know. Predict the Vikings' record for next season down below in the comments section. And even the bookmakers. These are the guys that had the Vikings win total at 6.5 last season, and these are the same guys who are disrespecting the Vikings yet again. Lions best odds in the NFC North, no problem with that whatsoever. If you say the Lions can be better than the Vikings, I'm not going to have an issue. They have kicked our ass last 2 seasons, but having the Packers at plus 260, a team the Vikings just swept this past season, having the Bears and Vikings necessarily have the same odds to win the division, I think that's ludicrous. But this is just the offseason. People love to pile on the Vikings because I think it's simple. You think about these big-time, media companies, Fox Sports, ESPN, if they are, their coverage is having a playoff game, out of all 4 of these teams, the team they would not want the most in the playoffs is the Minnesota Vikings. It's just true. You got the brand with the Packers. The Lions are somehow a very talked about team all of a sudden. And then obviously the Chicago market with the Bears. But I do want to go back here. And because everybody's saying, the Vikings are going to be a regression team. There's no way they're as good as they were last year. All right, so let's just break this down. What were some of the Vikings' main problems from last season? I think number one, just overall talent in the trenches. Offensively, defensively, on those interiors specifically, they just didn't have a lot of talent there. So that was an issue, and that definitely caught up with the Vikes weeks 18 in the wild card round. Consistent run game, definitely. Vikings were 19th in the league in running the football next season. So that was an issue. Pass defense. I think this was mainly because the Vikings got up on a lot of teams early in these games, so they were just able to throw the ball all over the lot. But that was an issue. The Vikings also struggled with getting pressure with only 4 guys this past year. There was a lot of Brian Flores getting creative, and he did just that. Vikings had a great defense this past season. And then the red zone rushing, specifically in that Lions game. I think the Vikes were 0 for 5 in the red zone during the Lions. Darnold was 0 for 9 at a point throwing the football, so you weren't able to run the ball, which put a lot of pressure on Darnold. But remember all of these issues right here. I think the Vikings addressed all their problems this offseason. We talk about talent in the trenches. Okay, so you go get Donovan Jackson, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen. Check that box. The rushing offense in the red zone. You go get a physical running back in Jordan Mason with the improved offensive line. The pass defense. I think your ability now to get home with 4 with that defensive line, that will just increase. All of these issues the Vikings had, they addressed it straight on the nail. And if you just start looking at this team, you start looking at this roster, the amount of talent at every single position group is ridiculous. Justin Jefferson. If you guys don't know, he's pretty damn good at football. Jordan Addison, one of the best wide receiver twos in the league. Ty Felton, speedster. Jalen Naylor, speedster. Rondell Moore, speedster. You got the two top guys, and then you just got these gadget weapons for Kevin O'Connell in this offense. I can't wait to see the creative play calls KOC has for a guy like Felton, has for a guy like Moore. And, I think the Vikings offense, they're going to lean on the run game this season. They know JJ McCarthy's strengths and weaknesses. They know at Michigan, they didn't ask him to throw the ball 40 times. And the Vikings aren't going to ask JJ to throw the ball 40 times this season because you added Donovan Jackson. You added Ryan Kelly. You added Will Fries. And you literally just take Brian O'Neill, who also got hurt in the Rams game. The Vikings will have a completely different left side of the offensive line starting at the right guard spot. Will Fries in for Dalton Risner. Kelly in for Bradbury. Donovan Jackson in for Blake Brandel. Christian Darrisaw in for Cam Robinson. That's an upgrade at every single position. And then people are saying still, they weren't able to run the ball at the goal line last season. Yada, 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 yada. Well, you added one of the more physical running backs in the National Football League in Jordan Mason. So, offensive line, check. Weapons, check. Running backs, check. How about tight ends? You got the best blocking tight end in the league in Josh Oliver. You still got TJ Hawkinson, an elite weapon, top 5, top 7 tight end in the league. So really, what is their weak point offensively? It all comes back to JJ McCarthy. Like these people, and I think it starts from the pre-draft analysis on JJ McCarthy saying, I don't think he's that good. So when he gets plugged into the Vikings offense, they're naturally going to think, the Vikings aren't going to be that good. But let me tell you guys this. The J.J. Jefferson, Kevin O'Connell era is here. And these are going to be the 3 guys for the next 7 to 10 years that will be the focal point of not just this offense, but the entire team. Because I'm a believer in McCarthy. I think he's going to work out. But let's just say he's better than I think. And he's an undisputed top 7, top 10 quarterback. The combination of KOC, McCarthy, and Justin Jefferson will be the backbone and the foundation of this team for the next 7 to 10 years. But I'll ask you guys this. Fill in the blank for me. I don't know where I put them. You guys let me know. The Vikings will have the blank best offense in the NFL next season. I'm going to go 7th. I'm going to say the Vikings will have the 7th best offense in the NFL next year. You guys let me know your thoughts. Where will the Vikings offense rank at the end of next season? Talking a lot about offense, but let's talk about the defense. Why the Vikings defense will be top 5? Because they were already top 5 last season. I think people think they lost Brian Flores or they lost all their talent. They only lost Cameron Bynum, and they added 2 dogs on that defensive line. So everything we were just saying with the offense, I think they're going to be a top 7 group, if not a top 5 unit, if McCarthy pops year 1. Well, defensively, you're only going to get better, and you're coming off a year last year where you were already pretty damn good. Here were their 2024 defensive ranks. Now, you got to be a good scoring defense. Vikings were that. They give up the 13th most yards per game, give the 10th most yards per play, second best on third down, second against the run. But when I think about a Super Bowl defense, you got to win on early downs. You stop the run. The Vikings do that. You got to get home to the quarterback. The Vikings were top 3 in the league in sacks. You got to turn the ball over. The Vikings were second to the Steelers in turnovers forced defensively this past season. They obviously just got to keep guys out of the end zone. Well, the Vikings were 5th. Like, they did all that last year with, I would probably say, B-level, B talent on this defense. And then you made these big-time additions, specifically to the defensive line. Because what we were just saying at the top of today's show, what was the Vikings' biggest issue defensively? It was getting home with 4. So what do? You go bring in Jonathan Allen. Go bring in Javon Hargrave. Then what if Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins, one of the most boomer bust prospects in this year's draft, definitely has one of the highest ceilings. What if he pops year 1? What if we're like, that's 6'5", 280-pound defensive lineman from Georgia? He just plays his tail off? Okay, yeah, we could work with that, and then we're definitely getting home with 4. But also in the secondary, people freaking out. Why didn't they add another corner? It's because the Vikings believe in the guys already in that building, specifically this guy, Aaron Rodgers. Unreal PFF grades and very limited snaps. Now, he's going to have an increased role, so it's kind of that thing, and I always say this when I'm talking about the NBA, like, you can be an efficient scorer, scoring 12 a game. Can you be an efficient scorer, scoring 22, 25 points a night? Same thing applies with Isaiah Rodgers. You were very good playing limited amount of snaps, 300, 350 snaps per year. Can you do the same thing playing 700 to 1,000 snaps for a season? But I think he could step up. Then also the Byron Murphy deal. People are saying the Vikings overpaid for him. And then the actual contract details came out, and he got the same deal that Paulson Adebo got from the New York Giants. I think Byron Murphy has a chance to be a top 5 corner in the NFL next season. Now, he predominantly plays out of the nickel. We know that's where his bread and butter lies in the NFL. But we'll see. Oh, I also said Aaron Rodgers right there. Isaiah Rodgers. That's on me. Isaiah Rodgers. Too much Rodgers on my mind. But, specifically about Byron Murphy, I think he has a chance to be a top 5 corner. Like, I'm sure the Vikings, when they were giving him that deal, they're like, all right, this guy's entering the prime of his career, his athletic prime. He just had a really good year. Let's see if he could build off that. Byron Murphy could step up. And also specifically at the safety position. Everybody freaking out. Why didn't the Vikes draft a safety? Well, they probably have a lot of faith in the guy they just gave a 3-year deal to, Theo Jackson, who when he had to step in against the Seattle Seahawks when Harrison Smith did not play, he had the game-sealing interception, had a 90-plus overall PFF grade. I got faith in him stepping up. And here's probably the biggest wild card to me. Coming off a torn ACL, former third-round pick out of USC, had a great rookie season. Can he take that next step? Can he become a true lockdown cornerback 2 across from Byron Murphy? I think he can. But even if you think these guys in the secondary aren't going to take that step, I think they're just not going to have to hold up as long. Because imagine this third down package coming at you if you're an opposing team's quarterback. Jonathan Grenard, Hargrave, Allen, Van Ginkel, and Turner. If the Vikings line those 5 guys up and you still got to pick and choose if Turner or Van Ginkel's coming, I mean, that's just going to cause havoc. And plus, if any of these guys get one-on-one opportunities, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But after all that, let me ask you guys this. Are the Vikings Super Bowl contenders? Do you believe the Vikes can make a Super Bowl this season? Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no. You guys let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. I think they're right there. I don't know if they're true contenders just yet, but I think they're right there. And we can just talk about like a little Super Bowl checklist here really quickly. You already improved the roster. You got a top-tier coaching staff. You got an elite culture that Kevin O'Connell set. You got a franchise quarterback in McCarthy, and you are having an identity change where you are going from a finesse football team to a physical football team. So it gets me to this. My prediction for the Vikings this upcoming year, I think they're going to go 11-6, and Kevin O'Connell and Justin Jefferson will finally get that first playoff win under their belt. It'll come wild card weekend, then we'll see what happens in the divisional round. But if an 11-6 season happens, you're losing 3 more games than you did the previous year. I still think that's a success. The first year, JJ McCarthy at 22 years old. So I got a lot of faith in this team. But if you guys made it to the end of today's show, give me a skull down below in the comment section. We use this as a real one roll call. We appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Shout out to everyone who supported the channel over the last couple of months here. And we'll see you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.